I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain. Time.
Astrology is an ancient science akin with numerology and tarot. Ancient religion was a stellar cult, worship of the stars. Our most famed physicists throughout history have put their minds in solving a mystical riddle. It was Thomas Haley that said to Newton, "Why are you studying astrology? Isn't that a load of crap?" And Newton replied, "Well, you have obviously never studied the subject." Newton was given the task of the biblical code also. He translated the Hermetic Emerald Tablets. And where is he now? Buried in Westminster Abbey, sleeping in a glorious crypt. Yeah, the stars are far away, and it's hard to get your head around them. It's physics. Astrology is just ancient physics. It's just a little bit more lateral, because they were back then. Molecules. Yeah, we're made up of them. Made of loads of them, tiny little dots. They're spinning, and they're everywhere. It creates gas, solid, liquid, plasma. It was interesting to find that gas was named after the Greek primordial deity, Chaos, by a Dutchman, and it's how the Dutch pronounce the chaos. It sounds like gas. The sky at night, made up of tiny little shiny dots. If you zoom into one of these dots, you're in another world. Just as if I zoom into my hand, there's also another world of little dots, and dots within those dots, and worlds within worlds, and as this universe is, universe is the one song, like a freestyle style. It's holographic. We're all connected fractally to with the space, the ether around us, or it was Einstein who brought back an ancient idea back to modern day, relativity. He says you don't move. The whole world moves around you, but you stand still. Solipsism, in a way. And it's kind of like flipping Galileo on his head. Like, you're the center of the universe. As if the sun is within you. Which the Vedic, the astrology, the sun is your heart. And everything revolves around it. But, if that's the case, then is this a giant computer virtual reality game simulator? Like a big Grand Theft Auto game, and chemicals in your head are pushing buttons and controllers and your eyes on the TV screen. If that's the case, then astrology is the computer codes within the console. And yeah, psychedelic. It's from Greek and it means mind manifest. I'd say it's an ancient way of saying relativity. The whole universe is within the heart of hearts. Because separation is just illusion. But there is a thing of dealing with the concept of separation. Within the royal courts of your hearts of hearts, your king, the sun, and your queen, the moon, get told the news by the jester, Mercury. They get advised by the military general, Mars. Saturn advises them. Jupiter dictates the dogma. Venus is in the corner playing music to soften the atmosphere. As above, so below. On Earth, as it is in heaven. Chemicals in your brain are talking to you. Yeah, a lot of science we have. Science can be seen theologically. You know, science as religion. The progression of what we know now of modern science, you know, started with Bacon's empiricalism, breaking away from dogma, publishing many. Bacon published a lot of literature and gearing towards technology and science and away from dogma. This gave way, I'd say, to the age of reason and Thomas Paine. You know, and it's around the time, around like the death of Napoleon, was blasting his way into the pyramids. You know, I think excavation work and archaeology in these countries that the West has colonized, and you know, they've done the archaeological digs and found artifacts, took them back to the cities, and they're all in the treasure houses. But, you know, that's the advancement of technology and science by, you know, scientists reading ancient scriptures for inspiration, like Oppenheimer and Einstein reading the Mahabharata. Naturally, these mystic scientists keep it secret in mainstream of, you know, the origins of. They don't brag about it, you know, but all scientific origins do. Yeah, come from mysticism to a degree. But yeah, they kind of keep it secret because you're a muggle or whatever. Yeah, Newton was, so they say, one of the last of the great sorcerers. He was an MP. And he was president of the Royal Society. Yeah. From an American point of view, looking at Europe, we must look really old-fashioned, with our fairy tale castles and kings and queens and old traditions. Well, historically, culturally rich. As the Statue of Liberty stares at her past, pause for dramatic effect. The White House dome, the big dome on top of the White House, it's hollow. If you go inside the White House and look up at the dome, you'll see a mural. That mural was painted by Raimondi in 1865. The painting is called Apotheosis of Washington. The painting illustrates a nativity scene of gods and angels. George Washington is seen in the middle of a circle of harking angels, in between two goddesses, Liberty and Victoria, aka Nike. Washington is draped in royal purple, and his hands are in the position of the classic drawing of Baphomet. He has one hand pointing up and one down at the earth. Encircling George Washington and his harking angels is a larger circle of Roman gods. In this nativity scene of gods, you've got Neptune and Venus. They're illustrated laying down the transatlantic communication cord wire under the Atlantic Ocean. Vulcan is making cannons and cannonballs. Mercury is helping with commerce. Columbia is up in arms with a sword and spear. Shield and Minerva is making a dynamo with scientists. And Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, is holding the Copernicus, the horn of plenty. While her daughter Flora is picking flowers. If the big obelisk in the garden didn't give it away, forefathers funded America. Are they trying to say that they're pagan? But they say that they're Christian, but not normal Christian. They're obviously Freemasons. They're not normal Christians. I'm just trying to describe, you've got Muggles and wizards, and Freemasons are wizards, and normal Christians, secular world, they treat us like Muggles. And I think they've made a game. But I'll try and tell you a stupid story to try and describe it. Okay. So far away, on a planet you've never heard of before lived a scientist called Gazebo. Gazebo's planet is really nice, a little too nice. It's so nice it's really boring. He's got himself in a bit of a pickle because his planet's so nice. He can't evolve as fast as he used to, and whenever he incarnates, he remembers who he is, and it's just getting old and boring. There's nothing to stimulate him. He wants a challenge and adventure, and to grow and learn. So being a scientist, he went off with his space mates and found a little planet full of lizards. Being a scientist, Gazebo created an experiment. He got his friends to make civilization on this lizard planet. So he, later on in history, he can incarnate and have an Earth experience and enjoy his little projects he'd made. And as Gazebo and his friends made the experiment quite extreme, but that, in Gazebo's eyes, that's the fun of it. He really enjoys the excitement of a good mystery adventure. The good twist of the game is that you even forget that you're playing it. So that just adds in more of the fun. But the minders, Gazebo's friends, his minders, they want to keep you forgetful and control the experiment. You've got to keep the divide between the game masters and the game players. So how do the wizards keep the muggles ignorant of the wizardy games? For a long time it was dogma, but now in modern day, these Masonic game masters, society's architects, designed the corporate throwaway society, you know, this consumer culture of the late 50s and 60s, when cartoons came about, you know, at the same time. Edward Bernays used, he was Freud's niece. He applied psychoanalysis to marketing. In the 50s and 60s, the cultural climate really dramatically changed. So did people's, concerns and morals. Introduction of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, they called the British invasion, got all the cretins burning their albums. Aleister Crowley's Aeon of Horus. Bernays knew to shatter a person's mind and to keep them in an infantile state is the best to keep the consumer consuming, especially products he does not need. He wants people living by impulse, ego alone. I'm really fascinated with Revelations. The locusts who had hair like women. Yeah. So the Beatles, you know, they had long hair. They're kind of bugs. Some more Revelation connections. Well, you know, obviously, Alistair Crowley, he was saying, oh, he declared it, like, oh, on the Feast of Revelations and stuff, you know. But I like the line, those who say they are Jews, but they are not Jews, they lie. They're from the synagogue of Satan. I really like how that parallels with Operation Paperclip. You know, Nazi families moving to America after the war stopped being prosecuted. They go to America and they pretend to be Jews. They wear kippahs and have a Jewish name. And they were given really good jobs. They were talented men. And they, you know, were given jobs by their merit. One source says that they're behind a lot of the hoax news. These Nazi families that have emigrated. Operation Paperclip. Yeah. Another Revelations thing is the whole eighth king, this being the popes. In the book, the Vatican City became its own like country in 1929. There's only been 8 popes since then. The Book of Revelations is saying that the 8th king of the city in the 7 mountains, which is, you know, Rome's classic for the 7 hills. They're saying there's going to be 8 kings, but the 7th will reign with the 8th, which, you know, ex-Benedict, he's still alive, and that's really rare. Just the parallels with those 2 kings. Then they're saying that the merchants will be sad to see the Whore of Babylon go, and I think it's the Whore of Babylon is the Catholic Church, and you know the recession isn't getting better. I don't think it will recover, which will align with the Revelations. But you know, it says of the mark of the beast. You know, is this just the barcode, or do we have to wait for the next monarch? You know, because that ain't his head on the stamps and coins, and he's just got to redo the whole lot. So is he gonna, you know, bring up the idea of chipping? I've seen them hinting at this for a few years now, like of them bringing up shipping people. Yeah. But then that really would be Judgment Day, you know, really. Then people would decide if they really want to be part of this civilization that has been created for us by these wizards. You know, looking at the newspapers recently, it's been a case of, oh, what celebrity's been fucking what kid now. But, you know, today the Sun headline is Behead, fanatic stab jail warder. This is all springing from the Woolwich beheading. You know, this was done in a jail. I think it's just so easy to make up a story and, you know, shit stir. You know, you can go along with the script, but I'm sitting on the fence and calling it a pantomime. They are shit stirring. I think it's like some psycho bitch, you know, girl sort of funny boiling politics, you know. But yeah, they just want us ignorant. They want us fighting. They want us to play in their blood sports. This is why I think lad culture, you know, like this, has been heavily pushed on the youth to get their mentalities for the barracks. They want to fill the barracks. They need a dense mentality for, you know, to have them in the front line. You know, COD is a very popular game. You know, our culture is geared to make us sexually and violent, and they are trying to make us fight in war by our ignorance. They're trying to make us ignorant so that we fight in the war. Watching the news, and in all honesty, it was my favourite thing to do as a child. When I was obsessed with TV. I used to watch it. Oh, I thought it was the best thing ever. I watched it a lot, a bit too much, and stay up late, and just any spare time I'd watch it. And I used to like watching, you know, what so-called documentaries. I call them mockumentaries. You know, I couldn't believe anyone would think it's real. You know, and catching out, you know, people that are obviously acting, but they're telling you, you know, oh, this is real, like reality TV, but it's not reality TV. It's been scripted and staged, and I used to love watching TV and catching them out because, I don't know, it's just fun. The modern day news, you know, it might as well be, you know, dark comedy like Chris Morris's Day to Day and Brass Eye. This phony CNN American news. I saw some interesting like similarities between the Boston bombings and the London beheadings, there was some confusing videos. The Boston bombing had its Family Guy edit, which was a bit of a tripstick or whatever. And now this beheading Woolwich video has red hands, orange hands sort of tripstep video also. But it was InfoWars to clean up that dispute, where InfoWars was saying the orange hands were the fake ones, and that was real blood on his hands. And, you know, it's just bunny boiling, frickin' just, it's designed to melt your mind. Or just, you know, I've been out with psycho bitch girlfriends, and it's just how maintaining the chaos, you know, the Hegelian dialectics, and the shit stirring. Yeah, this could be enough to set up tension, childry on news night. I think Chowdhury's an agent. I think this is all staged. Yeah, you know, first they sugarcoat, and then now they're stepping on eggshells, and it's a funny game. But it's best to stick, you know, open-minded. But, you know, there's generations that still salute the flag, and there's generations who, you know, have had their minds shattered by cartoons. And who's going to see through it? Who's going to, you know, put their ego aside, or catch on to this submissive, draconic rule? Etymology of draconic. Draco was the first rule giver in ancient Athens. He started capital punishment. He just means like brutal, tyrannical ruler. But yeah, St. George and the Dragon. Many ancient parallels to that kind of symbol of, you know, the hero and the serpent, like Zeus and Typhon and Marduk and Tiamat. The Christians had Saint Michael and the devil. Krishna and Kalia. St. George was introduced to England by Edward III, coming back from the Crusades. You know, George in Greek, it means earth worker, or like man who works hard. Edward III created the Order of the Garter. The symbol of the Order of Garter is St. George and the Dragon. I think, and the dragon represents chaos. I thought the hoodie was a bit blatant, you know, advertising for help for the heroes. I'm not a blood splatter analysis, but it's a touchy subject, just like the Holocaust. You know, a lot of Holocaust deniers get, you know, it's a thing of treason if you bring up the subject. But you know, I think this is also the case as well. I mean, it's just a touchy subject, but I thought they were having crocodile tears when they were, you know, reading out this speech or poem on the TV. I didn't buy it. Yeah, same with the Sandy Hook. Like the parents of the children, they. I know Americans they could be a bit quirky or like they could be, you know, goofballs, but he was just wrong. I didn't buy it. I thought it was cool that this, you know, there's no coincidence that these weird news phenomena have been happening since 2012. You know, because this is it. And this Bilderberg meeting, there's no coincidence that, you know, it's in England this year and all this mock beheading stuff has gone on and it's spurring around the world, you know, like the Dutch comedians were crassly poking fun at it, you know. Yeah, there's just so much shit stirring about it. But to have Bilderberg in England gives the probability. Well, we know that Griffin's going to be there. We know that there's going to be other highly controversial speakers at the Grove, but we know Griffin's going to be there. Will Chowdhury come to square up? I said earlier that gas came from the word chaos. G4S are doing the security. If I wanted a number plate on my car and I wanted it to say gas, I'd spell it as G4S. G4S says gas, but gas is chaos. G4S is organised chaos. Yeah. St. George and the Dragon, the symbol, it's like yin and yang. It represents, you know, all opposites, like good over evil, light dark. So ignorance, it's like darkness. So it's the evil dragon or chaos. But George is, like we worked out, George means like hard work. To gain order over chaos. You know, discipline or management. How does the Draco keep us ignorant? To know thy enemy. You got to look at the classics, see the traditions in the elites' mentalities. The hypothesis of George Washington is telling you they like the Roman gods. Minerva, aka Athena, conceptually is fascinating. So is Vulcan. They play a large part in explaining this game. This ancient brotherhood, by divine right of blood alone, created what we know of civilization. This old boys' club that got out of hand, they've been in control for a long time. They keep themselves secret, working on biblical prophetic work for the greater whole, for the masses to live and experience. They split the nations, they split the tongues, so no one could understand each other. They started to build the Tower of Babel to the sky, these brotherhoods, they warred with each other because they didn't understand each other. But to communicate, they communicated with symbols. And to learn the hidden meaning of these symbols, you needed to be educated and initiated. Those who wish themselves to rid their lives of ignorance will inquire. Only time until they will be enlightened with their discoveries. The symbol of Athena is seen much through Western political culture. For example, the Athenian Club in Pall Mall, or Parliament being a metonym for her symbol, the owl. She is the goddess of wisdom, craft, commerce, warfare, poetry and witchery, weavery. Athena was born out of Jupiter's head. She just sprung out with a spear and helmet and shield, singing songs of victory. The festival day is 22nd of October. Athena comes from the word ether. She came from Jupiter's head. I associate Athena with Libra because of the nature of Libra being beyond any other. With the other 11 zodiac signs, they're beings, they're living beings. But Libra is the only sign that's not a being. It's an item. It's been created by someone's intellect and crafted and brought into manifestation. And I associate it with the ether. It is a once removed, I think. And Athena being Libra, and Libra, that part of the year is autumn, the fall, and also the eve of the day, when it gets dark and it cools down. You know, psychologically, if that was the first night time you've ever experienced, I think it would shit you up a bit, you know, or like the first winter or whatever. But, you know, with that part of the cycle is associated with the dragon. And it's associated with just the concept of duality. It's the opposites. You know, this is when you start experiencing darkness. This really shows within Libra nature, because the Libra is the devil's advocate. You know, highly intellectual. Fine judges. Athena, aka Minerva, she prefers to debate, you know, before war. Not like bloodthirsty, ultra-violent Aries, aka Mars, who she's facing. As Athena is associated with, you know, Well, the Athenian club, in Pall Mall, these are the cultural engineers, these social trendsetters, these aristocrats that dictate culture. As Athena is a Shakespeare, how the Shakespeare doesn't just keep the divide with, the shaking of the spear in your face. She's defending herself as well as offending you, keeping her distance, but still, contemplating war. But is this the dualistic nature? Because is it only an illusion that we're separate and we're divided? But I feel like the eve of the day can also be associated with the cusp of Aries and Taurus. And Aries, it represents the sacrificial lamb,